A science story, huh?
These NYU scientists, they...
I felt
right.
I was so
and I just thought, well,
I had figured it out.
it was that golden moment.
Because science was on my side.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Lilly, and welcome to the Story Collider, where we bring you true personal stories about science. This week's story is from Steve Crabtree. It was recorded in March 2016 at the Hackney Round Chapel in London in collaboration with the British Science Association as part of British Science Week.
So, on Christmas Eve, in 1986, I was sat on top of an active nuclear reactor inside a nuclear submarine, holding a paintbrush. And I don't know if anyone here has ever been inside a nuclear submarine or inside the reactor room of a nuclear submarine. But it I don't know if anyone here is a science fiction fan, but it kind of looks like the inside of the TARDIS, okay? The reactor looks like the Doctor's control panel. It's kind of that shape and that size. And I don't think I've broken any official secrets telling you that. I had to sign the Official Secrets Act every year while I worked in the shipyard. But basically, I'm now the editor of a programme called Horizon, which is a BBC Science Strand. We're 52 years old. We're the longest science documentary series in the world. And I'm going to take you on a slightly meandering, surreal trip to explain how I ended up as the editor of that show. So, I just need to take you back in time a little bit before I joined the shipyard. I come from a place called Barrow in Furness, in Cumbria, which was in Lancashire when I was born, so forgive my accent. But the thing with Barrow is it's the only place in Britain that builds submarines, and lots of people in the town do that. Certainly when I was a boy, it was the main employer there. I come from a council estate. And I had it was a great childhood, but with not very much money at all. I was also very, 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 very bad at school. I wasn't naughty, I just never applied myself, and I had really no interest in education at all. It's not something I'm particularly proud of, but I'm just being honest. I was obsessed with two things throughout my childhood: comics and television. Okay? That was it. I collected comics voraciously. I still have tens of thousands of them in my parents' attic. And I love TV. I just really, really love television. I mean, I used to record everything and listen back to it. And when I say record, remember this is the kind of early 80s, and video cassettes we wouldn't have got any such thing for my childhood. So I mean on audio cassettes. I taped television programs on audio cassettes so I could listen back to them. One person in our street, Gary Bundy, the Bundys, they had a video recorder. And when they went on holiday, we borrowed it. And it was kind of shared around that was it. You had your 2 or 3 days with a video recorder. Anyway, so I just recorded everything. I listened, I loved television, and I loved comics and superheroes. And that was how I kind of, I had a quote, I can't remember it exactly, but I think it was, it's on my note there. It's from, I will read it out actually, because I think it's quite important. It's from a guy called Art Spiegelman. I don't know if you know him. He wrote a very famous comic book called Mouse. And Art Spiegelman said, comics are a gateway drug to literacy. And I kind of believe that. I learned, everything I needed to learn from reading comics. Anyway, so I'll fast forward slightly. I then got back into the shipyard. What I should say is mostly boys, sometimes girls. When they left school in Barrow and Furness, you did two things. You either went to sixth form college or you went into the shipyard. And as I say, I left school with no qualifications at all in anything. Okay, I was in the bottom sets of every subject. I think I may have been in set. We have 4 sets in the UK. Set 4 is the bottom set. I think I was in set 3 for English. That was the only one. But I left school with nothing like that. So I went straight into the shipyard. My mum said, you know, get yourself a trade. That's what you should do. Go and do an apprenticeship. That's what I did. So I went into the shipyard. And I became a painter and decorator. And I'll just say now, for the record, the decorator bit, when you're a painter and decorator, the decorator bit is very, very, very important, okay? So, all right, 95% of the time, you paint submarines, black on the outside, white on the inside. And occasionally, you will have a splash of blue for the odd electric box that appears here and there. But there is 5 or 10% of the time where you will go and you will decorate an office. You know, there are offices in the shipyard and stuff. You will paint a door, you'll hang some wallpaper, you'll do that sort of thing. So I'm a fully qualified painter and decorator, okay? I just need to point that out to you. So how do you paint a submarine, okay? Or how do you paint a submarine in the 80s? And how does it work and what do you do? So I've got a prop. I brought a prop and I know props aren't really allowed here, so I will explain the prop very clearly to you. But you must see this because it will give you, I hope it will kind of paint a picture. This is my actual bag, okay? This has been on 4 different classes of submarines in the UK. And I had it from when I was 16 to when I left. Weirdly, I've written Stephen Crabtree on it, and given only my mother and older sister call me Stephen, I'm not quite sure what was going on there. But that's the bag. That's a painter's bag. And what you do, or what you certainly do when you're a 16-year-old boy and you're a painter, is you fill it with these, okay? You fill it with comics, okay? And you can get quite a lot of comics in a bag like that. And then you hide the comics by putting tins of paint on top of it, and all your brushes and things like that. And then you walk onto a submarine, no one knows any difference. You find the bit of the submarine you've been told that you've got to paint. And submarine paint dries by chemistry, so you don't need air or light, so it's a chemical reaction. So you mix up your paint, and what you do is you paint like hell. You really, really go for it, and you paint an enormous big section, and then you have to wait for that to dry. So you do literally watch paint dry, okay? And what do you do when you watch paint dry? You get your comics out, you read your comics, fantastic, you know. 2 hours, paint's dry, give it another coat, and that is the process of painting submarines. And I think we looked into it once, and from memory, I think that every part of a submarine has something like 14 coats of paint on it. You know, it's just relentless. It is a relentless job. So, okay, so what I did. I went on, I read comics. That's how I sort of spent the day, really. So I'm going to fast forward slightly now, and we're going to go into the 1990s, and I'm still doing the same thing. That's the same bag that was with me. But now I'd moved on to tridents. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you here are aware of trident submarines. They're very controversial here in the UK. That first one, that's mine, okay? I painted that, okay? I just want you to know that. Now, I clearly didn't paint it by myself. It's 150 metres long, and it's about 8 stories high. It is enormous, okay? But I worked on the first trident, and I'll just give you a little piece of trivia. That trident was launched by Princess Diana, okay, Lady Diana, Princess Diana. When she launched that ship, she was housed behind bulletproof glass. You know, there's always protesters and people that turn up, and they put big bulletproof glass around her. I painted the frames that held the bulletproof glass, okay? Just and there is a photograph of that somewhere. It was in our local newspaper, and I'm like, that's my handiwork there. Okay. So what do you do? So it's 1992. So it's 1992. I'm on a Trident. I'm still smuggling comics on, but I'm also I'm probably in my early 20s now. So I start to smuggle something else on, and I'm going to bring you. This is the actual copy that I had from 1992. Okay. It's The New Scientist. Okay. And this magazine is this exact magazine is has one of the most profound effects on me, and which is why I'm here talking to you. On page 18, I don't even know the page number. There was an article in it, and the article said, "How to design an alien." Okay, so here's a kid who's been reading about Spider-Man and Superman and Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever you want to call. And there's an actual proper scientific magazine with a thing in it that's like all the other stuff I read, but it's real, you know. And it completely transformed me. And I just thought, this is amazing that people can really do this stuff. You can actually take this amazing kind of science fiction stuff and you can actually make like real stuff out of it. I remember it just had such an enormous effect on me. And 92, so you know, look, you know, some of my best friends, so my brother still works in the shipyard, you know, it wasn't for me. I needed to get out and do something else. And I'd kind of been inspired by this kind of stuff, and I thought, well, right, let's go and really get some education. I know, I'll go and study science or philosophy, or I had these really interesting. There was a fantastic course on philosophy in Lancaster University, and I'm going to do this. So I kind of wrote off all these application forms, and remember, I'm qualified in one thing, and that's I'm a painter and decorator. Okay, I'm not getting into any university to study any sort of a proper subject like that. And eventually I decided to go to art college because art college will take me. And, you know, you never know, I might be able to draw comics, and I really love comics. So I go to art college and I find out very quickly I'm really rubbish at drawing. So that's gone as well. And what happens is I find there's a filmmaking course, and I kind of start making student films and what have you. And realise I'm quite good at it, right? Okay, so I realise also I don't really like the drama stuff and I like factual stuff. I like making documentaries, and I very quickly realised I found a calling, for want of a better word. So I made lots of films at college and what have you, and eventually leave college and apply to do work experience, mostly at the BBC. I did jobs here and there as a runner, but it was the work experience that I really learned about television as a sort of putting your toe in the water, really. And I was funding this. It was really interesting. My mum was right, actually. The trade, becoming a painter and decorator, really was the best thing to do, because I could fund doing work experience by painting kitchens of an evening and weekends, and that's how I kind of funded these months. I moved to London. In fact, I'll just tell you, I've got to say, I had a bedsit in Clapham. I had a bedsit in South London. It was really a wardrobe. I'm 6 feet tall, and you could do that and touch both walls, okay? And I'm really not lying. And the bed was so narrow, you could only lie flat. You couldn't turn over because you could. I mean, and I moved into this thinking I'd be there for maybe 6 weeks, you know, and I think in total I was there for 9 months or something. But I was just obsessed with this idea of trying to get into telly and trying to make factual TV programs. And I remember the money was starting to run out, and the work experience that was starting to disappear. I'd sent my CV to everyone I could possibly think of, and I just remember there was a day when I had I think I had £2 left. Okay, I had a pay-as-you-go phone. I'd sent my CV everywhere. I had a pay-as-you-go phone, and I had £2, and that was it. And I thought, this is it. If you know, what am I going to do? So I went to the corner shop, and I bought a bottle of vegetable oil and a loaf of bread, and I ate fried bread for like the entire week. That was it. And I thought, when this fried bread runs out, that's it. I'm going to go back to my mum and dad's house, and I've done it. I've tried everything I can do. And as I said, I'd done all this work experience, and I'd sent my CV, and then the phone rang, and I was still, 3/4 of the way through the fried bread or whatever, but the phone rang, and it was someone from Horizon, from the BBC. It was a lady called Bettina Lerner, and Bettina was then the deputy editor. She was soon to be the editor. And she said, look, your CV has arrived on my desk. Come in to Horizon and meet me. And I thought, wow, this is a big thing. So I'm sure it was a day or two later, but I eventually found myself in the office of the editor of Horizon. And I walked through the office, and she said, before you say anything at all, I need to make something very, very clear to you. There is no job here for you. Okay? But I've never met anyone who's painted a nuclear submarine. What's it like? And, I took a moment to think, and I thought, this is probably going to be the most important story I ever say. And so I took a moment, and I said, well, Bettina, on Christmas Eve in 1986, I was sat on top of an active nuclear reactor, inside a nuclear submarine, holding a paintbrush. Do you know what the inside of a nuclear submarine is like, Bettina? It's a bit like the TARDIS, that thing. And I essentially told Bettina, to all intents and purposes, the story I've just told you tonight. And I walked out of that office with a job in the BBC Science Department, and 17 years later, I'm now the editor of Horizon. And that's my story.
That was Steve Crabtree. Steve has produced and directed much of the BBC's science, arts, and business programming and made programs across all 4 BBC television channels. He is now the editor of flagship BBC Science Strand Horizon, now in its 52nd year. The Story Collider is produced by me, Brian Wecht, Aaron Barker, Ari Daniel, Christine Gentry, Skylar Bear, Shane Hanlon, Rosie Waldron, and Liz Neely. The podcast is produced by Rose Eveleth. Additional help from Brooke Williams, Lena Groger, and Justin D'Ambrosio. The theme music is by Ghost. Special thanks to the Hackney Round Chapel for hosting the show, to the British Science Association for being amazing partners, and to Paint for being fun to watch dry. Thanks for listening.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.